Hello and welcome to Life and Leadership Podcast with David Gadberry, and I'm so glad that you joined me today. So excited. Today we're just going to be doing an audio podcast, but we will also put it on YouTube. And I want to encourage you that if you're joining our Life and Leadership community, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. And I think our podcast can be heard on several different formats and platforms, so avail yourself to that as well. I just want to say thank you for being a part of our leadership community, and if what we're sharing with you adds value to you, then please know that it probably would be good for someone else too, and we would love for you to help us build our community by sharing that with others, especially if it's someone who you feel like it will add particular value to and help them to be able to grow and develop as a person. My desire is to truly be able to help someone to see the potential in themselves and reach for that potential. Be able to bring it out, draw it out of themselves, because I believe that every single person has potential in many different areas and aspects of their life. And I believe that if they will learn and develop and overcome limiting mindsets and limiting habits and really learn how to take themselves to the next level by right thinking, right mindsets, then they'll see great things happen. So again, thank you so much for being a part. And Life and Leadership for us is all about the understanding that leadership doesn't happen in a vacuum. And I think a lot of times when we read leadership books, when we hear leadership gurus talk, when we converse and talk about leadership ourselves, a lot of times we treat it as if it's just take these 5 principles or this 7 principles or these 6 principles, and if you apply them to your life, they're going to work well. And a lot of times that can be true, but a lot of times we receive those principles without the benefit of context. And a lot of those principles were born out of a context, and life is messy. You know, leadership works, and it doesn't just work in a vacuum. It doesn't just work as a system, but leadership works in real life. And so that's what this podcast is all about, is how do we become the kind of leaders that when life gets messy and problems happen and issues and circumstances come, we find ourselves overcoming that using leadership principles and pursuing that potential in our lives and those dreams that we have and the vision that we have to become everything that we can become. And not only for ourselves, but leading others to fulfill potential in their own life. So we've been kind of on this series called Healthy Leadership. And so today I want to talk to you about the idea that healthy leaders love life and enjoy people. Healthy leaders love life and enjoy people. And so what I want to really cover and get clear about today is overcoming the dangers of frustration. How do we enjoy leadership? How do we enjoy our roles in leadership? How do we enjoy pursuing the dreams and the passions and the purposes of our heart and have a positive perspective on people? Because if you're a leader, the one thing that is for sure is you're going to be dealing with people. And people, when you're adding value to people and you're gathering people and you're casting vision to people and you're trying to lead them in a certain direction, all of that requires change, all of it requires growth, all of it requires development. And we as human beings, sometimes we can be resistant, sometimes we can misunderstand, sometimes we have ideas of our own, sometimes we have pushback that is positive, and sometimes we have pushback that is negative. And all of these things in context of working with people, being the right people to work with. You know, sometimes we're working with people and we don't have the right set of people for what we're trying to accomplish. And so all of this in working with people, trying to achieve the goals and the dreams and the visions and the passions that we feel like we've been developed as a leader for, that can all lead to frustration. You know, there are even positive things that can lead to frustration. There are negative things that can lead to frustration. But so in order for us to be able to deal with what it means to overcome frustration or avoid the dangers of frustration, we must understand that healthy leaders love life and enjoy people. So in order to understand how to do that, let's talk first about what frustration is. My feeling about frustration, and I'll just tell you, I have some real feelings about frustration because I have fought with battles of frustration my entire life. I'll explain to you that to you in just a minute. But I want to talk to you first about what frustration really is. And here's what I see it. I wish that this was on video so that you could see what I'm doing, but frustration literally is what I believe is the differential between expectation and reality. Here's what that means to me. It means my goals are here, my desires are here, my passions are here, my purposes are at this level, say at a 10, yet when I look at my reality, I'm still at a 4. And everything in between 4 and 10 can be, for us, frustration. Because what we have a tendency to do, instead of continuing to keep our eye on 10, we start putting our eye on 4 and 3 and 2. And we start coming up with all these reasons of why I'm not there yet. What's the problem? And is it this person that is not doing their job? Or is it this situation? Or is it that circumstance? Is it that? And what frustration does is a lot of times it causes us to blame others. Frustration a lot of times causes us to exaggerate the negatives. Sometimes it causes us to take a step out of reality into a fantasy world of blame or excuses or whatever, instead of just looking at where things really are and knowing that life is a journey and it's a constant climb. I love what John Maxwell says when he says that everything worth having in life is uphill, and the problem with us is we have downhill habits. So frustration is that differential. It's that feeling that comes when you thought by this time and in this situation and under these circumstances, you thought you would be up here at 10, but you're down here at 4. And it just really starts playing with your head. It starts messing with your head. Well, what do other people think about me still being at 4 instead of already at 10? Am I failing? Am I no good? Am I not going to, is this really not my purpose? Am I not going to ever be able to accomplish it? And these are all thoughts that are brought on by insecurities and fears that come with frustration. Now, I told you just a little bit ago that that there's a reason why I wanted to talk about the dangers of frustration, because I'm a person who's dealt with frustration my entire life. And I want to remind you, I want to bring you back to the what we're talking about, where this whole series is about healthy leaders. And what we're talking about with this next healthy leader characteristic is that we love life and enjoy people. And I just want to tell you, the young leader that's been leading for a bit, very developed, experienced leaders, listen to me. Frustration can kill you. Frustration can steal the energy out of your organization. Frustration can cause you to make wrong decisions and take wrong paths. Frustration can create relational breakdown between you and your family. Frustration can cause the people who work with you and are coming up alongside you to not want to be with you anymore. Frustration really evokes some negative things in our attitudes. And one of the biggest causes of frustration is the inability to be content with where we are while we're on the journey to get to where we're going. You know, a lot of times people don't want to talk about patience, but patience is key to effective goal achievement. If you can't be patient, and if you can't keep persevering when you come to a place that could be frustration because you're not where you want to be yet, then you can totally destroy your opportunity just by allowing frustration to take over. And it's this discontent that takes over us. In other words, we achieve something, but then that's not enough. Well, I really want to be here, and I looked over here, and this person, they already achieved that. They're my same age, and they've achieved that. And why am I not there? Now I need to get there. There's this never-ending cycle of discontentment that says I cannot be happy or confident or contented where I am because it's not where I want to be. And we really have to get past this, because what happens is it steals from us the ability to love life and enjoy people. And a characteristic of healthy leadership is to be able to love life and enjoy people. And a lot of times when I see frustrated leaders, I see leaders who have a negative perspective of people. They never assume the best, they always assume the worst. They never take responsibility, they always blame shift. Things of this nature. People who are frustrated, people who have a negative perspective on people, people who do not enjoy life, are people who are allowing frustration to overtake them. I've talked a little bit about this, but I just want to, because we're talking about life and leadership as it pertains to this podcast, talking about life and leadership, like real leadership in real life. I was, ever since I was a kid, I've had real frustrations. I was a decent student when I was younger. When I got into my adolescence, I really hit the skids. I rebelled against my family. We won't get into all that, but I went in a really negative direction. But what I didn't realize then, and I look back on now, I do realize, and I'm not blaming this for my behavior, I'm just saying I've come to a realization that one of the things that caused frustration in me, as I look back, when I would take a test in school and I would sit in the desk and just break out in a sweat and start literally just clenching my fists and just groaning and grunting as I had to take that test and feeling like I was going to come out of my skin and things of that nature. I have constant memories of teachers saying, Gadberry, sit down. David, sit down. You need to sit down. Gadberry, sit down. Gadberry, sit down. And what I didn't realize until just a couple of years ago is I have pretty significant ADHD. Now, I had this as a kid, and my wife, being a teacher, has experienced this with a lot of children, and she noticed we were going through some pretty severe things a few years ago, and she noticed how anxious I had become and how frustrated I was and how I was just constantly moving from one thing to the next and frustrated about this and frustrated about that and irritated and overwhelmed and not able to concentrate and getting hyper focused on things that weren't important and not able to focus on things that were. And so she just continued to tell me, David, I think you have ADHD. I really do. I want you to at least go get tested. And so I didn't want to do it, and I didn't do it for a long time until we got to a point where it was starting to really show up bad. And like most adults who don't realize they have this but come to the realization that they do, realize over time they have built in mechanisms that have caused them to be able to cope. And so I have a lot of coping mechanisms where it causes me to be able to lead people. It causes them to think that that everything's fine, and I'm able to lead, and I'm able to be diplomatic, and I'm able to do things because I've created ways of handling the emotional feelings that I'm having. I've really learned how to discipline myself and concentrate on focusing when people are speaking to me and when I'm speaking to them, because it's been very important to the success of my career and ministry and so on and so forth. If I didn't do that, who wants to be around me, And so I'd learned a lot of those mechanisms, but what had happened is over time, as we were experiencing a lot of stress and a lot of strain, some of that was breaking down in my life, and bad behaviors as a result were starting to show up. So she said, please go to the doctor. Let's just go to the doctor and ask them what we should do. And so we went to the doctor actually for something else. I had some kind of ear infection or something, and went to the doctor, and the doctor said, I'll send you to a psychologist. They can run tests and see. And so I thought the test would just be some questions and surveys. I thought it was very subjective, but it actually wasn't. It was on a computer, and you had to go through this process, and it tested your attentiveness in terms of auditory and in terms of visual. And so he did ask a series of questions, and then he did put me on this very objective test. And honestly, I thought I killed it. I was like, oh, I definitely do not have this. And then he comes back with the test results from his questions and from this test that I took on the computer. And he said, your auditory concentration or attention span at your age should be around 80 to 82.3%. Yours is at 20. So you do have a severe situation here. And so the lack of being able to focus, and the lack of feeling pressure, and when you get into bad habits and bad patterns, you can't sleep, you're struggling with problems, you're I hate even talking about this, because when he told me this, I'll be honest with you, when I left after him telling me this, I felt completely broken. I felt like, man, I am jacked up. And then I realized, no, this isn't bad, this is good, because it made me understand myself, that all those times that I was so frustrated, and all those times that I was so anxious, and all those times that maybe I was overly impulsive, or I responded in a bad way, it didn't excuse bad behavior, but it made me realize why I might have been feeling that way. So this is a Life and Leadership podcast, and so I'm trying to just tell you, this is real life. If we want to be leaders, we have to be honest, and we have to be vulnerable, and we have to deal with the things that we deal with. And life can come at you in various ways, negative things, hard things, difficult things, and you've got to deal with it. You can't just act like it's not happening. You can't just deny it. You can't bury your head in the sand. You've got to deal with it. That's what leadership is. And so that's what I began to do, and am still in the process of doing. But what I would allow this to do to me, and I just say again, one thing that I'm so proud of, and I want parents, please listen to me. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're a parent and you have a child that's got ADD, or you have a spouse that's got ADHD, or whatever the case may be, listen to me. Having ADHD is not an excuse for bad behavior, and you have to learn the difference between your child just having bad behavior because of the ADHD, or if it's something that's outside their ability to deal with. And then you have to help them get help and deal with it. Because the bottom line is, life is not going to step aside and go, hey, okay, you've got a problem, so we're just all going to step aside and let you have your problem. And blaming some problem like this for bad behavior, or for wrong thinking, or for frustration, and blaming that and not taking responsibility only compounds the problem and makes it 10 times worse. And I know that you probably had to deal with a lot of teachers getting onto your kids and sending you notes home and things of that nature. Stop making it about the teachers just don't understand, the teachers don't love my little Johnny, and the teachers don't know. You need to get a grip and understand you're not raising that kid for tomorrow, you're raising them for 10 years from now. And if you do not teach them to deal with what they're going through and how to cope with it and get whatever help they need so that they can function in a way that is positive and successful for them and for the people around them, what you're going to end up with is a person who resents you for not helping them take care of the problems in their life. Stop being moved by your feelings and take a step back and ask yourself, what is the leadership move here? Leadership moves oftentimes are not easy, they're hard. They're not the easy way out. They're not the decision that makes us all feel so emotionally good and get goosebumps. Sometimes it's the hard decision that no one wants to make, and that's the leadership thing to do. So if you have a student, if you have a child, if you have a person in your life that you're having to deal with this way, please do not excuse bad behavior for this problem, but help them learn to cope, help them learn to get help them grow. Yes, be patient with them. Yes, be patient, be kind, walk them through, help them understand that some of the things they're experiencing are not things that they know how to deal with yet, because they don't know why they do it. I can just tell you, as a kid, I don't know why I could never figure out, why am I so impulsive? Why do I get so angry so quick? As a young husband, I would get so angry and so quick and so impulsive. And that's an indicator of ADHD. I had no clue. It was because my frustration would build up. So I say all that to say, as a leader, having that to deal with, it created in me kind of this pattern of discontent, of frustration, and irritation with people. And and all of it, a lot of the things that I was dealing with had nothing to do with others. It had to do with me and the way I was feeling on the inside. And my inability to pay attention, forgetting things, being in a conversation and then later coming back and saying, why isn't this done, or why haven't you done this, and then realizing we did talk about this, you forgot. And so I've had to learn how to work through some of those things. Leadership says I'm making a choice. No matter what issues I'm dealing with personally, if I'm going to be a leader, if I'm going to add value to people, I am making a choice that no matter what my frustrations are, no matter if I physically feel frustrated because of ADHD, or I physically feel frustrated because I'm overwhelmed and anxious, or I physically feel frustrated or mentally feel frustrated because I want things to be further down the road and my team's not as good as I want them to be right now, and my results aren't coming in like I thought they would right now, and we aren't growing to the point that I want them to grow right now, and all of that starts building up and creates negative patterns in our life, and then we find ourselves being overwhelmed, and it's not okay. So what does leadership say? In the middle of all that mess, leadership does not say, well, this is just the way I am, the people are going to have to learn to deal with me. And I've had seasons of that. I've had seasons where I excused myself and said, because I'm a leader, everybody else is going to have to adjust to me. But that is not the truth, not if you want to be successful. If you want to be successful, you better lose that attitude that everybody's got to adjust to you and start realizing that true leadership means you're responsible for everybody who's with you. And if you are the leader and you're responsible for everyone who's with you, it's not about them accommodating every little idiosyncrasy that you have. It's about you learning to lead them beyond all those little idiosyncrasies that you have and learning how to deal with them so that they're not off-putting to other people. That's the reality of it. So today, if you're struggling with leading, if you're struggling with getting along with people, if you're struggling with being frustrated, if you're struggling with personal anxiety or stress or some kind of thing like I have, then do not allow that to continue to create frustration in your life. But just say to yourself, look, I'm going to own this. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to get whatever help I need because I don't want to lose as a leader. I don't want the people who work with me to not want to work with me. I don't want my family to be distant and disconnected from me because I cannot figure out how to deal with my stuff. So as a leader, let's make the hard decision and the hard choices. And so when I had all of that I was dealing with, and then you walk into a situation where your expectations aren't being met and your reality is far from your expectations, and all that frustration's building up on you, and that overwhelmed anxiety starts coming into your life, and it makes you just go all over the place because you can't concentrate on anything, can't focus on anything. You just, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? What am I going to fix? That's when you need to step back and say, wait a minute, I'm a leader and I'm not allowed to do this. Now listen to what I'm saying. It's not that other people aren't allowing me. It's not that I have a boss that's not allowing me. But the principles I've established for my life, the goals that I have set for myself as a leader, the direction that I want to go, the vision even that God has given me, the gifts and potential that God has put on the inside of me, that's not going to come out, and I'm not going to come to full fruition until I get to the place where I take responsibility and own this and develop and grow and become everything I'm supposed to become. And I cannot allow all of those things to infringe on me, and I cannot expect everyone else to just change their lives and change their thinking to accommodate my problems. I have to take control of it. I have to make a choice. I have to make a decision. And I'm going to have to say, because of all those principles and all that potential and all those giftings, that vision, that direction, that purpose will not allow me to go down that negative path. I must obey the principles and the goals and the vision and the purpose that I've set for myself. And all of that says, deal with your stuff so you can move forward and lead people there with you. You know, I just want to say, if you're a person who doesn't like people, if you're a person who doesn't enjoy life and enjoy people, I don't mean to be harsh at all. There's two things that has to happen here, though. One, you either have to change that immediately if you want to be a leader, or you need to step out of any kind of leadership role. Because I'm telling you, leadership is about love. Leadership is about loving life, loving potential, loving growth, and loving, most of all, loving people, caring about people, adding value to people. That's what leadership is. You add value to people, which means to serve people. You serve people, and when you add value to them by serving them, you gain influence with them. That relationship construct is what is known as leadership. Because people are willing to give you permission to lead their life when you've added so much value to it. Okay? That's love. In other words, I'm deferring to you. I love you. I care about you. I'm putting you before me. That's love. That's leadership. Okay? And if you're a person who just says, well, I want to accomplish these goals. I want to have this money in my life. I want to be able to run this business. But I really don't like people, and I really don't care about people, and I really don't want people around me. I just want to get this done. And these employees, well, let me just say something. You are headed for disaster. And you may have a business that works at some point because of the force of your ability and skill, but no one's going to want to work with you. And everybody's going to feel unhealthy around you. And that's what we're talking about, is healthy leadership. Healthy leaders love life and enjoy people. They enjoy life and they love people. That's what healthy leaders do. So I want to encourage you, don't let frustration overwhelm you to the point that you blame shift. Don't let frustration overwhelm you to the point that you are irritated and irritable with people. Don't let frustration overwhelm you to the point that you refuse to deal with the things you need to deal with. And to be honest, as leaders, the first place we need to look before we move any further in terms of frustration and in terms of us not reaching our goals is us. Every great leader I know, every single one, is absolutely adamant about taking responsibility and giving credit. Which means that when something's not working, the first place I look is not other people, it's me. I'm going to enjoy life because life's too short not to enjoy it. I'm going to love people because that's what leadership is all about. And I'm not going to have this life where I feel conflicted and frustrated all the time. Frustration leads to anger. Frustration leads to mean-spiritedness. Frustration leads to contempt. And it really doesn't help, and it never helps you grow. So just understand this: when you find yourself in that season of frustration, you are sabotaging your own growth and your own development. So I hope that helps you today. I know it has helped me to look my issue, this ADHD, in the face. When I first was given that diagnosis, I got on the phone with my wife, and I teared up, and I just thought that I'm broken. Something's wrong with me. And then about a day went by, and I realized, no, this is a benefit to my life to know this, because now I understand why I felt that way, or why I went through that, or why sometimes I have this issue or that issue. And it's caused me to be able to deal with it. And so don't bring your real life issues and think you're going to be able to band-aid them with some leadership principle and ignore what has to be dealt with. Because that only increases frustration, it only increases anxiety, and it only makes it harder for people to work with you. So say goodbye to frustration. And well, that's easy for you to say. No, it's not easy at all for me to say. But that is the reality of it. You can literally say goodbye to it. In other words, I choose to not let the difference between my expectation and my reality to create for me a bad attitude, a bad mindset, a bad future. I refuse. I do not have to choose that, and I'm not choosing it. Here's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to end with this. So how do I keep that frustration out of my life? First, you make a definite choice to love life, to enjoy life. Enjoy it, have fun, laugh at yourself. Don't take yourself too seriously. Number two, love people. Care about people, love people. Don't be irritated with people. Learn to walk with them through stuff instead of being mad and angry and irritated all the time that they're not doing everything exactly like you want. You're keeping yourself from growing. And then the next thing is look to your expectations, not to your reality. Yes, you have to take note of reality. Yes, you do. You have to take note of it because you have to be able to learn. This is where I'm at. I can't get to where I'm going if I can't be honest about where I'm at. So yes, take a look at it. This is where we are. We wish we were here. We're not there. Here's where we are. And then ask yourself, what decisions do I need to make to get from here to there? And then just step by step, make those steps. Make those decisions. Keep walking towards your expectation. But keep your eyes on your expectation, not on your reality. Wherever your eyes are focused, wherever your focus is, wherever your attention is given, whatever your mindset is, your life will follow. So if you keep your frustrated eyes on the reality of where you are, and that's all you do, then you're going to be stuck where you are. But if you'll put that focus on the expectations and realize, hey, I'm not there as fast as I wanted to be, but I'm getting there if I just keep taking the steps in that direction. Greg Rochelle says something that I really, really like, and I think this has the capacity to kind of pour water on the fire of frustration, and that is we overestimate what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in five years. And here's what I mean by that. We want everything to happen right now. We want to go out and apply these principles and jump on it and just give it our all and expect overnight for things to happen. And so we make these big, grandiose, 1 year, this is going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, major frustration. Well, in most cases, let me just tell you, you're going to be frustrated because it doesn't happen that way. But it's amazing if you consistently keep taking steps towards your expectation of what you're trying to achieve. In 5 years, you will far supersede it and go far beyond where you thought you could go. And you're able to enjoy it and you're able to love it. Now, the last thing about frustration is this, that if you get an attitude of frustration that regardless of even if you meet your expectations, you're never going to be happy. Because even when you get to that place of expectation, then that's not enough. I got to have more, and I got to take another step, and I got to have this place, and I got to live here, and I've got to have that. And what we're doing is we're putting our focus and our attention on the wrong thing. Not on purpose, but possessions. Not on purpose or people, but problems. So it's important that we get focused, that we keep our eye on our expectation, that we deal with our personal issues, that we do not allow frustration to own us, and that we walk it out day by day, step by step. Hey, thanks for joining us for this podcast today. It really is my pleasure to try to share with you out of the things that I've learned over 30 years of leadership. And if you're a coach today, frustration can come when you have a losing season, and when you have students that you know have potential to do things that you think that they will do, and it doesn't work out that way. Don't let frustration set in. Just recalibrate, look at things as they are, get your expectations out there, and keep trotting along till you get there. If you're a leader, a business leader, come on, don't let the bottom line throw you off. Keep pushing till you get there. Entrepreneur, don't give up, don't quit, keep moving till you get there. Frustration should not be allowed to destroy or take from you the momentum that you can build if you'll consistently just keep after it. So again, thanks for being a part of the Life and Leadership with David Gadberry community. You can go on YouTube and see these podcasts. You can go on iTunes and several other platforms they're on as well. And please subscribe, be part of our leadership community. If you want to know more about what we do, you can go to gadberry.org, and it tells you everything about Gadberry Leadership Coaching. and how we can get connected and how we can help you with your business or your team or your family or whatever it is we can add value to you in. So today, as you go out and do whatever it is you're doing, add value to someone, because I promise you this, the greater value will be added to you. God bless you. Have a good day.